want to share my screen. Entire screen, allow. So now you can see my screen and probably my video over here. Yeah, and I think we can continue on our lectures. So, what kind of font do you like? Do you want to have it black and white, or you want to change it to?
We can see.
Oh no.
Colors for some.
Is it? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can hear me, but you can't see my screen. Okay. But now you can see me, are you? Can you?
Wait, I saw your screen before and now I guess I see it too.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
And can you see my face around it?
No, the face just disappeared. It was before.
Okay, I don't care about face. So what do you prefer? You prefer black and white, or you want me to change it to back to white and?
Well, I like black and white.
Or maybe this way. Sorry. So what do you prefer? Guys?
Well, I can't talk for everyone, but I like it the way it is.
Okay. I don't think that today's lecture will be really long anyway. So the last, and I actually think that this is our last lecture. Tell me if I'm wrong. Actually, I think it's possible to check with Drive. And there was your time schedule or something in there. Share it with me. How do you call this? Maybe this is your timetable, is it?
Yeah, but we don't have any schedule after the session. So, but before the session, it's definitely the last lecture.
Okay, but do you have any schedule on exam? No. Okay.
I don't think so.
But for some reason we have instrumental phonetics on today. Sounds reasonable. Okay, so this is our last lecture. Yes, and I think the next will be exam. I don't have any strict schedule for this, but I can say what will be in this exam. So during the exam you will given, I guess, 3 tasks. The first task will be more or less like this. So you will be given some British and American pronunciation of some word, and you will need to describe parts of it or guess the word and so on and so on. This will be the one task. There will be a theoretical question, like, for instance, if there is a, I don't know, snake hissing, what do you expect to see on the spectrum, or something like this? And you will be given some data, and I will expect you to annotate it and extract some information from there using some scripts. So scripts. So you won't be. So it won't be like you want. don't expect you to invent new scripts, so those scripts will be from those that you used. And I actually can share with you that since all this prod stuff was really complicated thing, I guess this will be just extraction of duration of something, because otherwise you need to run prod, deal with it, and so on and so on, and I don't want to have any complication of this. So I will give you some data, then you will annotate them somehow and extract the annotation that you gathered through your process, and visualize it with R. So that will be, so there will be 3 tasks. And yeah, if you'll be here, I will be happy to help you with technical problems. Or I will try to solve them via Jitsi, but it could be problematic and so on. So, but I'm not saying that I'm not encouraging you to go here. It's possible to deal with this exam online. So, okay. So I think that's everything that I expect. And I will be through all the time, and you can ask me some questions, and I will be answering them. Okay. Do you have any other questions? So, do you have questions about the exam?
Only when, but you don't.
I don't know. For me, ideally, it would be the next week. But I don't know what do you have there, and whether it's okay. So Ruben wrote something. Yes, Ruben, we don't have the concrete date. I will talk with the office and they arrange it, and I will copy. So I will write you as soon as I will know it. So for me, it will be ideal if it's possible to run it within just the next week, but maybe it's that time. Maybe you have some other exams during this time. So I will talk with Misha, and I don't know whether you have any exams during this session. I don't know. Okay. So let's go further. So I would like to discuss speech perception, and unfortunately, I prepared some. So I know what I want to say during the seminar, but I haven't prepared this in my material, so I didn't have any time to prepare this in material. So actually, as you see, materials are really short. So I expect that we go through this, and after this we'll spend some time during the seminar, and maybe small discussions on what can we do with this perception, with the speech perception research. So getting back to the beginning, we actually have kind of 3 fields of phonetics, and this is articulatory phonetics, where we are dealing with the articulation, and we try to get the information how speakers articulate certain things during the speech production. We have acoustic phonetics, where we analyze the just spectrum that we gathered through this articulation process. And we have auditory phonetics, where we go through the so we try to analyze how it's perceived by speakers. And as I shortly show you, the most important takeout from this lecture, that our ears are not prod, So they somehow work in the similar way, but our ears are not. They are not working like prod and us trying to guess what's going on. Okay, so first part of this lecture is actually hearing the signal, and this kind of complicated thing. So we have the internal ear, and the most magical thing that is going on, that we have waves, or that produced by our vocal cords and throughout our lungs and so on and so on. And this produces small air particles to vibrate or move. And the wave produced by these sound particles go through our ear, and after this magic is going on there, they transformed into nerve impulses that are perceived by the brain. And actually, here I call brain just one thing, but we all know that brain is actually a really complicated thing. It consists of different things. So the, how do you call it, core, or so the place where. So I think there are several different areas which are actually used in the brain in order to make us analyze sounds. So this is really complicated way, but we won't discuss it now. The only thing that I wanted to show you is to show you a video where there is a video about the sound process. So I will try to open, and I hope the people from Jitsi will be able to hear it.
Have you ever wondered how sounds make their way from the source all the way to your brain? Take a trumpet, for instance. When it's played, it makes sound waves in the air. The outer ear catches the waves, which then travel through a narrow passageway called the ear canal. The sound waves reach the eardrum, which is a membrane roughly half the size of a dime. They make the eardrum vibrate, which in turn vibrates 3 tiny bones called the malleus, incus, and stapes. These bones amplify or increase the sound vibrations and send them to the cochlea. The cochlea is shaped like a snail and is the size of a garden pea. It is filled with fluid, and the sound vibrations make this fluid ripple, which creates waves. Hair-like structures called stereocilia sit on top of hair cells and are grouped together as hair cell bundles inside the cochlea. The hair cells inside the cochlea ride these waves, and the hair bundles are moved. The hair bundle on top of the hair cell turns these movements into electrical signals. As the hair bundles are moved, ions rush into the top of the hair cells, causing the release of chemicals at the bottom of the hair cells. The chemicals bind to the auditory nerve cells and create an electrical signal, which travels along the auditory nerve to the brain. Different hair cells respond to different frequencies of sound. The hair cells at the base of the cochlea detect higher-pitched sounds, such as a piccolo or flute. The hair cells toward the top of the spiral detect progressively lower-pitched sounds, such as a trumpet or trombone. At the very top or apex of the spiral, the hair cells detect the lowest-pitched sounds, such as a tuba. The auditory nerve carries the electrical signal to the brain, which interprets the messages as sounds that we recognize and understand.
So this is the video, and as you see, this interpretation. So this is as we see, this internal ear actually works like Fourier transform for us, because it's kind of differentiate sounds by frequency, as was presented in the video. So, yeah, this is the sum up of this section. And I don't know what to say more. There are multiple details about what's going on in the brain afterwards, but I think this is kind of different and complicated story that I need a lot of preparation in order to tell it right away. So the next part is actually perception of speech signals. It's the second part of the of my materials that I wanted to show you, and so the first thing that we actually discussed, that there is some connection between physical properties of sounds and their auditory sensations, like amplitude or intensity corresponds to loudness, fundamental frequency corresponds to pitch, spectral structure to sound quality, for instance vowels and so on, and duration to length. But all of them, they are not one-to-one connections, because actually, so the out of our brain, so the differences in loudness and are not linear, and the same for all other measures. In order to create some psychoacoustic scales were created in order to prevail this and somehow show the connection between the physical properties and our perceptual properties. And the first thing, it's really old as you see, is the equal loudness contour that proposed by Fletcher and Munson. I guess, why do we have H here? It's really strange, but anyhow. And the idea is that we need to measure, so the loudness is not, loudness perceived differently according to the frequencies. So if we have some noise in 100 hertz, the difference in amplitude, if we analyze it, for instance, in 1 decibel, will be different if we analyze the same thing for, I don't know, for 1000 hertz. That's why we have those curves, and those curves are also a family of curves. Why? Because it's possible that we'll have some, so they all correspond to same loudness contour. So we have this perception, and we have loudness level in phones. Phones is the some psychoacoustic scale for loudness. So if we have one scale, one line corresponds to one level of loudness, and you see the curvature of this line corresponds to values according to frequency. So we perceive something louder if it's have lower amplitude, but then around 2000 hertz or till maybe, I don't know. It's actually a log scale, so it's hard to say values from the. So here we have this value where differences in we perceive. So we perceive less physically less loud with the smaller amplitude as the same loudness. And then it go up when we go to, if we talk about the higher frequencies after the 10 hertz, for instance. And here we have different loudness levels, and up to from 0 to 120. And then this is the sound pressure level that corresponds to something that we perceive equally loud. Is it clear what's going on in this plot?
Maybe I don't clearly understand what mean?
Uh,
It's correlated with
Phonetic. So this is here we have this annotation: loudness level phones, and phone is just oh, and it's possible that I have typo here. Phone is a measure of loudness, but in our perception. So imagine as something like 0 and 10 is something like 0 and 1 and something. So it's different levels of loudness.
and decibels are also like about loudness, but from
It's physical part. So we have here physical part. And on the x-axis we have frequency, and this is physical. And on the y-axis we have decibels, that's also physical. And we have those curves saying that we perceive everything. So if we have 0, for instance, we go through this line and we perceive something as absent of the loudness, even on the level of 80 decibel or even higher when we have a low frequency, because we don't perceive much on those frequencies. But then the level of loudness is going down, because when we have 100 hertz on this in this frequency, we perceive something like 30 decibel as 0, so lack of loudness, and we perceive for instance 80 I don't know, on 100 hertz we perceive, actually it's nice that they kind of starting to correspond to each other in the point, in one point. Is it true?
did it start?
Yeah. So the value. So, for instance, if you analyze this 1K value, I think in 1000 hertz, or around it, all values kind of correspond to values. So you see 10 corresponds to 10 on x-axis, on y-axis, sorry. 20 corresponds to 20, 30 corresponds to 30, 40 corresponds to 40, and this is around 1000 hertz. So, but again, it's not linear. So, in some values they are, it's happened before 1K in the area from 300 till maybe 900 or something. But I think in this area in between 300 and 1K, the value that we perceive loudness more or less the same as physical decibel measure. But on the other, in other frequencies, we perceive it like differently. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is it true that actually the outside world is more bassier than we perceive it?
Sorry? Can you repeat it?
Is it true that the outside world is more bassy than we perceive it?
Yes, that's what this plot corresponds to. But I would formulate it in a different way. But I think it's possible to treat it like this too. Yeah. Let me think for a moment. I would like to say that It's not, so no, I disagree with this statement. I would like to state something like this. An outside world, because your statement kind of go through from the point that they're all kind of noise persistent through our life. But I wouldn't say that it's true. There is some frequencies that we can't hear, and the range of these frequencies over here. So this is our audible. This is our audible frequencies, and it's not. So we don't know. Maybe there is a lot of really low frequency voice noise in the world, but we just really hard for us to perceive it. And the same for really high pitched noise with the higher frequency. So, for instance, I think this is from the bat researchers, like Batman. As I said during the bioacoustic lecture, that they use, they record everything, but they kind of speak during the recordings. That's why they actually can't hear bats during the recording. So they are recording something, and they don't care where there is any vocalization during the recording, because they can separate this really easy, because people talk in frequencies like less than 20K, and bats talk to each other using echolocation, and in echolocation they use the frequency really high. So what you are asking is it true that there is some bats always in the world, and maybe some really big whales that have some vocalization in really low frequencies, like 5 or 10 hertz, and they vocalizing persistently and we don't hear it. And I disagree with this. It's possible that there is nothing there, but we definitely have something like bats, because all our phones and all those kind of connections that they are making, they are really doing this in the high frequencies, and this is like bats. And I would say that but it's also high. There are a lot of different high frequencies that we can hear and can perceive, and thank God, because it's so noisy here. Is it answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, but if you pick some, for me, all this lecture is kind of really strange, because we had lecture on bioacoustics, and what I'm interested in, why is so human-centric? Because all those measures were created based on humans that are, as you see, imperfect at all. So maybe some different animals will. So I'm really interested in psychoacoustic scales for different animals and what we can gather from it. I would also say that this is all just really big generalizations. So it's better to think about it for individual people, I guess. For some people, it's possible that they have the different picture. It won't be like drastically different, but if you remember the plot about vowels, that will be that kind of variable. So I would expect all different shapes over here. Not like generally changing, but the values could be really different depending on the what these people do and the abilities and so on and so on. Another thing, so loudness, and here I think is a typo, because I think it's should be phone without. without E in the end. Yeah, like this one. So phone is the unit of loudness, and they kind of resemble of those plots that we've seen. Is equally loudness contour, they are present here. So there are two different, maybe there is also Wikipedia about son. So it's son, and this one is, oh no, they don't have any phonetics. So how to pronounce it? Phone. Oh no. I think it makes sense to go, for instance, Cambridge Dictionary online. Oh no, they don't know this word. Okay. But we can test our vocabulary with their fun image quiz. That's great. So yeah, so I would call it phone. Yeah. So there are two really well-known psychoacoustic scales that were described, like with son or phone scales. But the most popular tool used now is called A weighting curve, and there is also actually a lot of different curves. And the idea is to how we perceive. So this is weighting for. So our perception of amplitude is dependent on frequency. So the idea that we need to multiply it by the value on this curve, as far as I understood, in order to get the same value. So I think there is an article on this, and they actually have multiple weightings. So it's not only a weighting. There are different type of weighting that they proposed. And it's defined by some complicated formula over here, and you can calculate. So you need to get your frequency, like here for instance we have 100, and then we pull it to this formula, and after this we get this RA that is this Rx function that as RA, and after this we pull it to AF, and this is our scaling thing. I don't know why those values are so, they look like really complicated, totally non-random, and this is kind of the weirdest formula that I've ever seen, but I don't have any answer. Maybe I need some mathematician who will explain what is the theoretical meaning of this, why the formula should have this kind of form, not any other. Okay, so yeah, and this is about loudness, and there is also bark scale for frequencies. So we perceive changes in frequency differently according to frequency values. So for instance, difference in, so for instance if we have some tone that is changing from 50 to 100, this change will be smaller than change in 1000 and 1005. the changes between 50 and 100 is not the same as a change between 1000 and 1050. That's what I want to say. And this bark scale kind of represent this. So if you transform it to bark scale, then we will have some other values. I actually kind of curious. So what is the result? So why is it important? This is important because it's possible, for instance, analyze. So imagine that we're analyzing some frequency of, for instance, vowels, and we get some values for I don't know, some formants. And then we try to show, okay, this kind of sound produced with this, and this kind of sound produced with this kind of formant values. And then we run some statistical test, and it will show that it's statistically significant, but it's possible that the result will be in hertz, but statistically significant, but it will be irrelevant to linguistics because people just don't hear any difference within the scale. So the example could be like, for instance, I don't know, imagine that combination of obstruent and fricative like ts is different from affricate only by the really small fraction of time. So for instance, imagine that we have these 10 milliseconds indifferent, and this will be proven to be statistically significant. Even in that case, it will be linguistically bullshit because we kind of can't perceive the differences in 10 seconds, and we can't just perceive this difference. So it couldn't be any key for any phonological units. Okay, so those are psychoacoustic scales. And now I will talk about, this is kind of last part, but it will be really long, I guess. So I think this is last thing, but there is no any linguistic units, and I will discuss any linguistic information afterwards. So another field is what I tried to show before, that the physical units and perceptual units are not the same, and they not correspond one-to-one. So the connection between them could be really complicated. In order to work with it, it's better to use those psychoacoustic scales during the analysis. But there is also some tricky things that's going on through the perception, and it makes sense to deal with them too. So first, there are a lot of different things that helps people to understand what's going on. So first, everything starts with the curiosity, because we kind of can understand what's the speech of other people, even if we have never seen them before, even if they talking strangely, even if they, I don't know, drunk, even if they and so on and so on. And you can, so this kind of fascination that all people talk differently and we still can grasp something from their speech. And the idea that the difference between speakers could be really different, but there are several things that make it happening. So first is linguistic model, because we're not like purely like computer without any knowledge, just try to perceive what's going on. We kind of have the whole life of experiencing the speech, and we have kind of a language model that help us, and that's why we can replace some sounds with some white noise or some cough or something like this, and all listeners will restore the missing part of the speech. And this is really all experiment with Warren and Samuel and so on and so on. So the idea that even though you have some replacement, you will restore it and work with it. Second, the knowledge of linguistic units help us to perceive. This is known as Ganon Effect, that we have. So if we know utterance, will be higher probability us to perceive it correctly than unknown one. So if we have some word like dog, for instance, and other word that is not existing, like, I don't know, cog. Is it a word? I hope it's not. Anyhow, I don't know any cog. Oh no.
It's like something from the generators.
Oh no. I know, quag. Is it a word? Sounds like a word.
It's not what.
Quag. Is it a word?
Quag.
Quag. I don't know how to spell it. Oh no. Looks like it's so. I don't want to play around with English because I'm not a native speaker at all. So, but imagine that the perception of the known words is better than a perception of unknown words. This is not kind of strange thing. And another thing that it kind of is really like. So the conclusion of this effect will be that the higher frequent word will have less time of recognition than the low frequent word. So if you have really a rare word, then it will probably have the same effect. And there is also visual signal that also kind of help us to analyze it. And in order to play around with this, I would like you to see this video. And try to understand what the person is saying. So this is called McGurk effect, and I don't know whether you experience it through all this recording. So have you had the feeling that the people, so this person saying different things during the recording?
Yeah, unfortunately the video really lagged.
Sorry? Lagged?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. But can you...
For me, the audio was okay.
Oh, sorry.
But maybe you can look through this
Yeah,
video.
but I saw it before, but yeah.
Okay. So the idea of McGurk effect is that our visual input is also influence us. So we try to guess what's going on even without hearing. And the idea that they perform the same sound but with different mouthing and using b, d, and what else? V is possible mouthing, and people start seeing, so start hearing the signal, and this is called McGurk effect. So they hear ba, da, ba, even though there is just one ba all the way through all audio. Okay, and after this I want to stop sharing and I hope you can see my face. And now I want to discuss with you possible linguistic experiments that will kind of include linguistic units. So can you imagine can you invent some research for linguistic units? Because now we discussed what influence our perception, but there is also really huge number of work that kind of analyze this perception and what influence this perception. So in order to do this, I would like you to invent some research types, but I will provide you some example because it will be too much to ask you just from the scratch. So imagine that we have, maybe it would be nice to have in Russian. In Russian we have two sounds. We have ch, and we have something that written like this, but it's actually kind of affricate and could be written like this or something like that. So the difference is ch. So for instance, чесать, чесать, and for instance, тесать. And the other thing that we have is, I think it's all. So we have ch and we have t, but the problem with the t, even though it's affricate, kind of affricate, it's not like fully affricated. So the length of the second thing, s, is really small. So it's possible to take чесать and kind of cut a small piece of fricative part of affricate away and cut it away. And after this, you can imagine that it will shorter, and in some time it will be really short, like in тесать. And the question will be, will it be perceived as t? So is it possible to make чесать into тесать? So this is an example of the really complicated example, but you can imagine your own examples, including linguistic, so for perception and including linguistic units. Anyone?
I have an example from languages that have nasalized vowels but not nasal. For example, Polish. If we record some French type nasal vowels and present it to the Polish speaker, will they recognize it as their own or not?
Okay, yeah, it's good. It's a nice one. I hope they will recognize it as French one, but yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. It also depends on people probably, because there is some Polish dialects where some nasals are gone, I guess. So in Silesian, I guess they gone, or partially gone. I can't remember actually. Oh no. Oh, this is stupid of me. So anyhow, yeah, it's a really good example. Thank you. Any other examples?
Well, there are atomized consonant like in Russian and palatal like in many other languages, and I've always wondered like what will happen if you show like palatalized sounds to the people that speak language with palatals or vice versa?
I think you can do it with L2 speakers. They need to learn the difference, and some of them won't.
Yeah, sounds like something painful.
But yeah, you can do this. But for some reason, you get into the really strange field of picking sounds from one language and showing to speakers of another one. Could you imagine think of any experiments within one language? And now you will start showing some dialect sounds from one language to another one.
I wanted to suggest palatals from Old Church Slavonic, but
so what do you think? So imagine some language without reduction, like in Russian, and they have stress. And what kind of stress correlates do you know? Tip top, last lecture.
well, length, intensity, and reduction, but we don't have reduction.
Yes. So we can play around with this because length is really it's really easy to manipulate with length, and the intensity. It's harder to manipulate with intensity, but it's possible. So we kind of can show what is more important, whether length is more important than intensity, or maybe they work only in together, and when you make something longer, it doesn't work. Or if you make something high with higher intensity. This also will be a perception experiment. And actually something like I think it's even worked with some English, so I think it's possible that it's possible to make some for instance the stupid sheep difference could be checked with this. So we treat it as so we know that they have these vowels have different colors, so they have different form and values. But it's also we also know that they also differ in length. So is it possible to short it? And if it's shorted, speakers will still perceive it as a long one, or it will be so what is more important there? So for instance, like this question. What else? Can you propose any other experiments?
For example, there are languages that use really rolling R's, like some dialects of Spanish, and we can manually cut like some parts of it and ask whether it's a real R or not, something like this.
Sure. Yeah. And we actually can do the opposite thing. So we can take this example, perro, I guess from Spanish, like perro and perro, and we can take this one and multiply it. Because it's really like robust sound, it's like it's cuttable. And you can cut and copy it back and see will it work? Is actually r is multiple times of r? Or it's possible that it's not. But yeah, it's so cutting is really easy. So for instance, if you have a really long thing, so it's possible to cut away something without any traces. And this kind of manipulation is the most easiest way. It's also possible to change duration and change pitch. And nobody actually mentioned like pitch experiments or vowel experiments. Do you have any ideas about it? I think tone will be a really nice tool for playing with perception, because can you recollect something about tone languages from Africa with the how do you call it, level tones? Do you remember about those languages? So imagine that we have a language with two tones, low and high, and it's like ma, ma, and this is a difference. And the experiment will be what? We can reduce the highest one and see where is the boundary for this speaker, and try to kind of make a multiple set of multiple speakers and then check with them. And this is kind of tricky thing because people that know tone languages, they can understand, and again, blah, 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 all the things that I've said before. So they can understand people that are drunk, they not familiar with them, they've never seen this guy before, but still they can understand what's going on. Due to context, yes, due to multiple things, but for tone, it's kind of complicated thing. So I guess, yeah?
Is it easy to technically manipulate with?
Yeah. With pitch. So you can take one word like ma and say ma, 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 as you know. So you can do something like this and say where you perceive it as a low one. Because they kind of treat them, I think this is a function of the, so when you have high and low tones like this, they kind of have also something like baseline, so they compare it with, and you can kind of see where is this boundary and where is this baseline. Yeah. So you can easily manipulate pitch. And I will show it to you during the seminar. Any other experiments?
Well, we still have rhyme from last lesson, but I don't know what to do.
With rhyme?
Yeah.
Oh. Rhyme is the final part of the syllable, or rhyme as a rhyming thing in.
Like written, maybe I am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is hard. But I think it's possible, even with this. But this is kind of connected to the research that I witnessed, I would say. I'm not witnessed, but the idea that I think a guy performed it, before it with me. The idea that they used wavelet analysis, and wavelet analysis is a really cool thing. It's kind of, imagine that like wavelet analysis is more or less the same thing as Fourier transform, but maybe I can show you some pictures. blah blah, entire screen, allow, wavelet analysis. Maybe speech. I would like to see speech. And I'm not sure that this is a speech. Yeah, maybe something like this. Oh, I hope. Oh no, I need to download it. Okay. But you can still see it, are you? So here is the picture. Can you see it?
Yep.
So those are words in some strange language. Maybe it's Finnish. Yeah. This is exactly those people that were performing in our lab. So they showed this kind of plot, and the idea that this on the top we have wavelet analysis, and on the this is a spectrogram and this is something else, but I can't remember what's going on. And I think the main idea was that wavelet analysis is kind of good in showing rhyme. So it's the first syllable, so each of this is kind of number of syllable, around maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15. Oh no, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I don't know, maybe it's not corresponding to the syllables, but the idea that they're showing something corresponding to rhyme over here. So so maybe some vowels are eaten and you can't hear them. So the idea that this is the intonation, so it's really nice to show intonation. And what they said to me that so wavelet analysis is really good in analyzing low frequencies. And for some reason, people don't put much in low frequencies because it's undistinguishable. But if you take only this part of the spectrum, lower values, so the first something hertz, what you will hear is, so filter out everything else, what you will hear will be sound like this. So it's kind of like noise behind the wall. So you hear some intonation, but you can't pick any syllable or unit and so on and so on. And you definitely can distinguish languages according to this kind of rhyme structure and so on, and intonation patterns. And this is definitely a perceptual experiment, but really complicated one. But actually, it's even not so complicated, I guess, because I think you just take some noise, some speech, and you cut out some frequencies. So it's filter out some frequencies, and then you have the experiment. I'm curious, even if it's with some indigenous languages, whether they will distinguish their own language and something else. So, for instance, if I go to Dagestan and present them some recording from Russian, or from Georgian, and from some other language from Dagestan, will they perceive it as something familiar or not? I think this is really nice experiment. And those Vaino, I think there was also some guy, Simko, yeah. Simko and Vaino, they come to our lab once and presented sorry for that, presented some paper of there exactly with this picture, I guess. Okay, so we try to have some experiments. During the seminar, I will show you how manipulate with sorry for that again. How to manipulate with how to turn off. Okay. How to manipulate with these different aspects of sound. And now let's have a 10-minute break and see you in 10 minutes. I guess it's time to start. So I would like to show you some things that could be done with prod. So in order to follow me, I would like you to have some maybe smallish recording, not so big, like one sentence. And I will share my screen. And I hope you can see it. And now I will open prod. So prod, and here we are. So can you see my screen? Cool. So first I want to record some sound. This is a sentence that I will change. Maybe I would like to cut off something useless. This is a sentence that I will change. So you can see there are some pitch over here, there are some vowels. This is probably useless. So yeah, the first thing that I wanted to show you that it's possible copy and paste in prod. So this is a sentence that I will change. I would like to select, and this is important that this will work only in the view mode without annotation. So if you have annotation, it won't work. So first I can go here and go and set cut, and we don't have any pause in here. This is a sentence that I will change. This is a sentence that I will change. This is a sentence that I will change. I think a sentence, we can say something like paste. This is a sentence that I will change, and so on. So as you see, I can, this is a sentence that I will change. Can put it here also. This is a sentence that I will, oh no, it's not audio. This is a sentence that I will change. So it's not unnatural, I guess. So you can paste and copy and paste. I think we can play around even here. So here we have some random noise over here. Over here. So let's take from 0 to some value over here. I will copy and maybe out. So I guess I can do something like this. Oh no, it will be clipped.
Sentence. Sentence. This is a sentence that I will change.
No, it's unnatural, sorry. The problem, I actually like this example because as you see, even though that I try to paste it without anything, you can find those little bugs over here. And this is because they are not connected. So even if I cut it out, there still will be some line, the connection line over here. And so even if I try to cut it off, it's not possible. You need to something like from try to get it from 0 to 0. And the problem is even with cutting. So for instance, I will cut this off.
Sentence. Sentence. Sentence.
This appears. This line that appeared is the cut. This is the cut that I presented. So if you cut off some random thing, it could be tricky. But if you work with vowels, I hope it's possible. So vowels are really regular, as you see. So let's try to make it longer. So as you see, cutting is really easy. And now let's try to select several cycles, maybe one cycle. Oh no, here, from minimum value to minimum value. And let's try to insert it.
A sentence. A sentence. A sentence.
So as you see, it kind of, it's...
This is a sentence that...
So s is unnatural, and we can't do anything with it. Maybe I can remove this. I will close the drawer, sorry. So here I'm cutting it off.
This is a sentence that I...
So I added several cycles in there, and it kind of leave with it, and I guess it's okay. So yeah, you can copy and paste, and with some regular vowel cycles, it's really easy. So this is manipulation with events, I would say. So you can cut something off and change it. For instance, here.
This is a sentence that I will change.
So here we have something like sentence
that I will change.
Change.
That I will change.
So for instance, I'm wondering, is it possible to change something here?
Change.
So this part. So is it possible to take this, for instance, and make this longer? I guess it's possible. Out. So maybe again I will try to take one cycle and paste it here. Out.
change, change, change.
I kind of can't hear any change, but I think it's funny. Okay, so this kind of thing that we can do, but it also there is something that we call manipulation. So if we go here, I think it's time to stop for a moment and maybe you can play around. And after this I will show you how to manipulate with duration and intonation. So please record something and play around with cutting and pasting. And type 1 when you succeeded in the chat here. So the next thing that could be done is manipulate to manipulation. And here I use the standard thing that was standard values for the beginning. And after I type view and edit, you will see something like this. So here, maybe I don't want to see pulses.
We can see you.
Oh no. Yeah, I need to share my screen, sorry. Entire screen, allow. Yeah, so maybe I will start from the screen. So I have this sound and I type manipulate to manipulation. I use standard values here, press OK, and then what I get is a manipulation object, and I press view and edit, and what I see is this window. This is pitch, this is duration, and this is our oscillogram with some pulses.
This is a sentence that I will change.
So first I would like to play around with this speech thing.
Change.
You see that the speech is kind of question unfinished something, and we can change it, and so I will select the speech, and no, maybe I will start with this. No, with this. And the thing that I can do is move it upward, multiply pitch frequencies. Let's multiply it by 3, and then it go up, and this will affect everything because it will be.
This is a sentence that I will change.
Yeah, sounds horrible. But yeah, maybe you actually can move individual value probably. But yeah, no, pitch. Let's multiply it by 0.5 maybe. Maybe it will be higher, but not so high.
This is a sentence that I will change.
So you see, I manipulated with pitch, and you can do it. You can add your own values, so it's possible to, for instance, select all values and remove them. So there is no any pitch points over here. And now, and the gray dots is some value that were there but now disappeared. So I can go add pitch to point, and it will be like this, and maybe I can move it, I hope. And maybe I can put another pitch point here, and the result will be
this is a sentence that I will change.
So you see, I am changing the values, and I can manipulate with this, and I can draw everything that I want, so you don't need to keep it. So we can change it to, maybe I can, oh no, it won't be, okay, maybe you can keep it, but remember I wanted to remove this question part, so maybe I can just remove it all together and remove pitch points, and I think it will be okay.
This is a sentence that I will change. This is change.
Oh, it's a little bit electric now. Maybe we can add something like this. But it still will be electric.
This is a sentence that I will change.
No, now it's okay. I guess.
Change. This is a sentence that I will change.
So yeah, so as I said before, we can manipulate with pitch and play around with it. Here how you can do it. It's also maybe
Change.
I'm wondering what will happen if I remove some pulses. Is it possible to remove pulses?
Change. This is a sentence that I will change.
No, I don't think that something's happening.
Change.
I don't know. And what if we add there some pulses? Oh no, we need to do it multiple times. No, maybe I don't want to put to do something with it now. Oh no, I don't want it. Please. Pulse. So I've never played with pulses, but yeah.
Change.
I don't think it will change anything now. So yeah, this is the change in pitch, and the lower button part is about changes in duration. So this reddish line is annotated with 1, as you see. And this is the normal duration of your recording. But you can add some points. Duration, add duration point at cursor. And cursor. Maybe let's add it here also. And here, and then I want to drag it and put it down, and it will be slow everything in this part, and probably I can do something like duration point here, duration point here. Oh no. Duration, at duration point, Control D. So I would like to have it here and move upward. And this will be faster.
A sentence that I will change. A sentence that I will change.
Oh no, it's other way around. So this became faster, this part became faster, and this became lower.
This is a sentence that I will change.
And that's how you can manipulate duration and pitch. Probably we can. So I think I'm interesting. Oh no, it's also possible to synthesize something. Let's synthesize something here. Oh no, I don't know what's going on. Oh no, how to change it back?
This is a sentence that I will change.
Oh no.
This is a sentence that I will change.
Oh, this is...
Well, your like image is very frizzy, and I don't understand now what you're doing for this sound.
Okay, so is it freeze? So you can see the synthesis. So I use changing these values over here, and if you use sound and pulses, then it will be normal.
This is a sentence that I will change.
And if I change it to pulses and LPC, then it will be using those blue lines, so pulses, as a background, so it will...
This is a sentence that I will change.
And some LPC smoothing is just something like that used in speech recognition, actually, in order to get some elements of speech. So you can use just pulses and pitch, and this will be intonation and this rhyme thing.
Well, you press rhyme.
Yeah. So that's why it's pulses and pitch. So a rhyme it's in pulses and pitch is the pitch. Yeah, and I think that that's all that I wanted to show you today. So you can play around with it for a moment and ask me questions if you have any.
So there, I wonder, theoretically, we need such broad instruments for some perception experiments.
Yeah, because we can change a lot of things in this. So if you are interested in pitch, for instance, you can change your pitch, you can change your duration, and so on and so on. And this is really handy for perception experiments.
For example, to make some artificial stimulus, right?
Yeah, or manipulate with some existing, the existing one. Okay, so play around with it. The only thing that I didn't mention, I think, this is that it's possible to publish it somewhere, publish resynthesis, and then you have it as a new object in your prod.
This is a sentence that I will change.
And you can after this save it as WAV and use it everywhere. So I think this is the last thing that I need to say. Okay, so I'm stopping the recording. If you have any questions, do you have any questions so far? Okay, if you don't have any questions, I will stop the recording. And yeah, I'll wait until you play around and maybe ask me some questions if you will.